Hi there, welcome to today's episode of the Money Sense Talk Show. My name is Alex Iheanacho. Now, in today's episode, I'll be taking you through a journey that will help you understand how to get more value from every expenses that you make. Now, what happens most times is that people spend money to buy things without really getting commensurate value from what they buy. Now, the reason that happens is that people don't buy right. So I'll be sharing with you a couple of tips that will help you to buy right every time so as to ensure that you get value from every expenses that you make. So let's quickly get right into it. Now, the very first thing that you need to pay attention to before you make purchase of anything is functionality. Now, a lot of people buy things because those things are beautiful, or because those things are appealing, or because their friends and colleagues are buying those things without really paying attention to know if these things are functional. That is, if these things meet the functional specification or the functional need of their lives. Okay, and also when you pay attention to functionality, what will happen is that you will find out that something cheaper could also give you exactly the same function that you seek, or even sometimes a better function. If that is the case, why then are you spending more to buy something when you can actually spend less to get the same function or even sometimes better function? Also, when you pay attention to functionality, what happens is that you might find out that you already have something that is functioning, something that is fitting into that functional need of yours. If that is the case, why then are you trying to spend an extra amount of money to buy something that you already have, which is what? Functioning. So functionality is something that you must consider before you make any purchase. The next one is your budget limit. Okay, your budget helps you to determine how much you have available per time that you can spend on XYZ items, depending on the things that you have on that budget. Now, your budget helps you to know the things that you can afford as against the things that you can pay for. So there is a big difference between payability and affordability. Okay, so you have the ability to pay for something does not necessarily mean that you can afford the thing, or the fact that you can afford to make payment for a particular thing does not mean that you can afford that thing. So you can afford the thing when buying it, or when making payment for it will not cause a dent in your finances, or will not cause a stain in your pocket, or will not stop you from buying other necessary things that you will also need. So if you have $1 million in your account and you can afford to pay 800,000 naira for a phone, for example, you want to buy maybe an expensive iPhone and you can afford to pay 800,000 naira for it. Now, the fact that you can pay 800,000 naira for it, does it mean you can afford it? It depends on your situation. So if you have other things like your rent and maybe school fees, or other urgent things that will also need to be paid from that 1 million, and you spend 800,000 to buy a phone, what will happen is that even though you've been able to pay for the phone, you obviously haven't been able to afford the phone. So it will cause a dent in your financial life and your financial record. So your budget helps you to know what you can afford to pay for and what you can't at a particular point in time. So you need to check through your budgets to be able to know that you can afford that particular thing at that time. All right, then the next thing that you must also consider is necessity. All right, what you're buying, is it a necessary need? Now, we have necessities and we have needs. Okay, needs are those things that are important for us to survive, those things that we need to have for us to have a better life, those things we need in our lives for us to experience a richer life. So food, clothing, shelter are common versions of human needs. But necessities sometimes are not needs, but they are necessary for our needs to make sense and for our lives to be richer as well. So for example, you have clothing, you have shelter, and you have food, but you need a car. All right, now most times a car doesn't really come handy as an asset. Most times it comes as a liability. However, you need to buy a car, possibly to convey you from one point to another, because in the long run, the amount you spend on public transportation is more than the amount you would have spent in owning a car. So it becomes a necessity at that point in time that you buy a car. That is what I call a necessary liability. So you need to make sure that what you're spending money for per time falls into the category of a necessity or the category of a need. Don't spend your money buying wants. Wants are things that you can do without, but because of the rave of the moment and the breeze of the moment, you feel you just need to get them. So make sure that what you're paying for per time is not a want but a need or a necessity. Now, if you put these things into perspective, you will find yourself more often than not spending money on things that are really important to you and also getting value from those things. I hope this short video has been helpful to you, and I hope that you learn a thing or two that you can use in your own life to improve your financial results. So until I come your way some other time, please keep having yourself money sense.